Okay, so ever since the embarrassing loss to the Falcons on Sunday, we have been discussing Kirk Cousins and the state of the franchise and how I think most of the Vikings fans here are ready to get rid of him. Now, of course, that is easier said than done, right? That is the outcome that we all desire, but unfortunately, because of that contract extension that he got back in March, he might be here for a little bit while longer than we would like. There's a lot of guaranteed money on the line with this contract, and there's not much that they can do with him. They can't really cut him without taking a massive amount of dead money hit to the cap, and they can't really trade him unless they find somebody that is stupid enough to take on that guaranteed salary. So we're kind of stuck with him unless they figure out how to do just the most insane trade imaginable. If they really wanted to, I'm sure they could figure out the mathematics and figure out how to stay under the cap and save money and whatnot. If they really wanted to get out of it, they could figure out a way. But I don't think it's going to happen. So I think cutting him for right now is off the table. Trading him for right now is off the table. The team seems really not interested in benching him at all. So what are the other options on the team? Well, Sean Mannion is somebody that they clearly don't trust to give any sort of meaningful playing time. I think it's widely known that he's just there to be somebody to help prepare for games and be Kirk Cousins' understudy and help him prepare for games and, be a participant in the film room and to play in an emergency. But with Kirk Cousins' durability, the fact that he's never missed a game due to injury since he's been with the Vikings, I think that just speaks a lot to the fact that they don't really think they need any depth behind Cousins, which is a huge mistake in my opinion. So Sean Mannion, I don't think will ever see the light of day or any sort of meaningful action going forward. So that leaves us with the two most inexperienced quarterbacks on the roster, Jake Browning, the undrafted free agent from 2019, and Nate Stanley, the Iowa quarterback that we drafted in the 7th round of last year. I don't think either of those guys are really going to blow the tops off of anybody anytime soon. They're regulated to the practice squad, and there's a reason for that. Would I be in favor of at least elevating Nate Stanley to at least, see what he has, like, take the mentality going forward that, we're going to play this bad. We might as well do it on purpose, right? We might as well see what we have in this 7th round pick. Maybe we hit it out of the park with this guy, because a lot of good quarterbacks have been drafted late in this league. There's not many of them, but a lot of them have. We could even end up with maybe a Gardner Minshew situation for a year or two, but it's unlikely. Those are rare occurrences. They're the exceptions and not the rule. So this crazy idea, which you already know, and I'm kind of dragging this out to sort of set the stage, but because you've seen the thumbnail, you've seen the title. The wild idea, and some of you have even mentioned it in the comments, is that we bring back Kyle Sloter, who we released last year. I believe it was in August of 2019 was when we let him go. He ended up on the Cardinals practice squad after that. And then he had I believe, a short stint with the Lions, who then cut him in early 2020. So right now he's a free agent. But if you remember Kyle Sloter, who was sort of the preseason kid that everybody loved and thought maybe we could develop this guy into something because he had a lot of heart. He played really, really well. And now the thing is that, Mike Zimmer wasn't all that impressed with him because he was playing against third string opponents in preseason. But he had something, there's something that you can see that is different between, a quarterback like Kirk Cousins, who's very statuesque, who's very business, who's very robotic, if you will, versus a guy like Kyle Sloter, who is, improvise, make it up as he goes, things like that, extend plays, things that Kirk doesn't really do. You don't see that sort of quarterback style play out of him. Now, do I think we should bring back Kyle Sloter? Yes. The reason, though, that I think we should bring him back is not so much that he should be the savior, that he should, get a couple weeks to relearn the system and then be named the starter. I don't think that's the reason at all. I think that we should re-sign him. If I were the head coach, I would re-sign him just to make a statement, just to make the statement that, Kirk, we've noticed that your play is exceedingly terrible recently. So we're going to bring back this fan favorite young kid. He's still only 27, who everybody thought we should have kept a hold of, and we ended up letting go. And we're going to bring him back, and we're going to make some noise. And then in the media, of course, because the journalists that follow this team will instantly be intrigued, be like, "Ooh, this is a mid-season signing for a quarterback that used to be here, and we know about him because he's played here, in some preseason games for us." And so it would become a situation where you go in front of the media, and I'm just laughing thinking of it, where you would go in front of the media during one of your pre-scheduled, media availability appearances. Not, don't make some grand press conference out of it, because then that just kind of tips what you're trying to do. But wait for somebody to ask you a question. Be like, yeah, we brought him in here to compete and to sort of push Kirk, because that's what Kirk Cousins needs. He needs somebody that he is threatened by, because he's currently not threatened by Sean Mannion. He's currently not threatened by a 7th-round rookie or an undrafted free agent. There's just no threat there. If you bring in somebody like Kyle Sloter, who was a fan favorite a couple of years ago, players might react to that, and they might actually end up turning on him completely if they bring in a guy like Sloter back. So it's just to send a message, if you will, not for Kyle Sloter to be the savior. Maybe that does work out, somewhere down the line. I don't think it ever would. But the idea would just be to bring a body in and sort of have Kirk Cousins looking over his shoulder, be like, if I don't get my act together, this guy is going to take my job, because he has no fear in him. He can play as crappy as he wants. Kirk Cousins can. Because you see it in the post-game press conferences every week, where on Monday or Sunday, he's like, well, I don't really want to talk about it right now because I got to go watch the tape to see how everything went. And then 3 or 4 days later, he has the second media availability for the week. And he's like, well, I don't really want to talk about the last game because we're preparing for the next one. So, and he just totally dodges the whole situation on how he played terribly that previous Sunday. So it's finally catching up to him where he's not going to be able to do that as much. And I think if you put somebody in a position where they challenge him or put pressure on him, in practice, what have you, then we're going to see how he responds. Now, he probably won't respond to that very well, because I think, I don't want to jump into conspiracy theories here, but I'm willing to bet that the reason that we have guys like Sean Mannion, Trevor Siemian, Jake Browning on this team is because that Kirk Cousins made it a point, like, hey, don't put anybody behind me where you are going to, think about taking my job away from me. He made sure to make sure that his backups were guys that were never going to have any chance to take over. And that's the reason why he didn't get benched against the Falcons for halftime, because, the team has no desire to play Sean Mannion whatsoever. He's just there as an understudy. So that would be my approach to bring back Kyle Sloter, an old preseason fan favorite from the previous season in 2019, just to sort of ruffle his feathers, if you will. So let me know what you think of that idea in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.